Nice to have you join us on this special edition of The Woman. I call it special because every day we're on set, it is a special day to bring you another special lady. You know, they say the house is only a house, but it can be turned into a home when a woman walks in, which is why we've taken time to create this program to ensure that women bring in on board their spice, their strength, sometimes what you call their weakness, but actually that's what makes the world go round. That's their lovely tender hands. Who is my guest today? Find out after this time out.
Have you ever wondered why some men cannot finish using the towel and just hang it back somewhere in the bathroom? Why do they have to throw it on the bed? Little things like that, they're put off.
Have you ever wondered why a grown man with a wife and kids will go to the toilet, the lavatory, to ease himself, to do number one, to pee, right? He takes the seat up, he flips out that thing. The moment he starts peeing, he flushes the toilet, right? The toilet does its own bit. The flushing is done before the pee is done. And 10 liters of water is wasted. The pee is still there.
Oh my goodness.
He doesn't put the seat back down. He doesn't reflush. He doesn't wash his hands. He walks away.
That's why I don't like shaking men, by the way.
There's a particular thing we know many men to be very, very guilty of, and that's throwing their shoes and stockings all over. Maybe men are going to be better, not throwing it around, but they can just, it's just someone that have those smelly feet and keep it for you in the living room. Women don't like it.
It is a woman, and we're right on time. I'm sure you saw a little bit of my guest. She is one woman whose voice has been heard for some time now. Years now, if you ask me, around the world of naptip. She is simply known as Dame Chuli Oka Donley. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I am tempted to say you look pretty, you look beautiful, but I'm sure you're pretty, used to that, because the truth is, every day I see you, rather than going down, you keep adding. Let me start by asking, what's the secret? I have the most lovely set of teeth.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm blushing.
Oh my God.
I don't joke with what I eat, meaning I eat very healthy. I drink only water as much as possible. I try not to do soft drinks, sugary drinks and all of that. And most importantly, I do a lot of exercise. And I think the genes also has a role to play in all of this.
Definitely. God actually sets it up ruling, and then our own is to do our little bit to perfect it. And I think beyond not joking with what you eat, the other things you've not joked with, the issues around women, I'm going to talk about that. But a lot of people, they see you fight for women who are being violated, women who are being trafficked, women, recently we've talked about rape, women who are being raped. But you don't really understand where this passion comes from your career. You're a lawyer. Tell me, what made you study law?
As a matter of fact, I've always wanted to study law or journalism. But I opted for law at the end of the day. I always wanted to fight for justice. I don't like injustice, of any kind. And, even when I was in the university, I won the moot court competition, the Dean's first moot court competition in ABU. That was in 1990 when I graduated. And, since then, I just thought, there's no going back. I'd always wanted to when I was young, really. And I just thought it was something that I had to do.
That's interesting, and it's good when people know what they want, where they're going to, and they actually toe their line. It makes you more fulfilled. But then, that's me assuming, do you think you're satisfied with what you've done?
Absolutely. I am satisfied with what I've done. As a lawyer, you don't think, one way. You don't think straight. You just think, you have different scenarios. What if you ask yourself questions? You push yourself, So it has made me to always think and act outside of the box. And therefore, when you think and act out of the box, you become more learned because you want to know. and then what do? You research, and in the process of researching, you're learning more and more. Yeah, so that's the good thing about law.
A lot of reading, and I know when you were somewhere in the chamber, Anthony, Bene, you did exceptionally well. At a point, so you became the secretary to the state governor. That's Bielsa.
Yeah, I was the executive assistant to the Bielsa state governor at the time, Chief Timi Priscilva. Yeah, I was his executive assistant for 5 years.
Okay, you want to share that experience with us?
It was a very good experience. I had never really been to Bielsa State.
But you're from Bielsa?
I'm from Bielsa, but I've never really been to Bielsa State, and when I got to Bielsa, the people there, you know how it is, they were seeing it like, this is my state. Someone cannot come from outside and come and get this exalted position. So there was a kind of subtle resistance, on their part. But at the time, they didn't really know who I was, where I was coming from. They didn't know the family I came from and all of that. But as time went on, when they found out who I was, where I was coming from, and they now started relaxing. But of course, I'm not someone to walk over. I'm a fighter any day, any time. I stood my ground and I said, hey, you know what? The fact that I don't live here doesn't make me a non-Bielsan. I'm a Bielsan, and I have every right and privileges just like you do. And then the rest is history.
And they respected you, and you worked very well. Of course, I tried to dig in on that a little bit. I got something that I was happy, digging into. When women do well, I feel is a personal honor to me. And speaking of women, you're also championing the cause of women who are violated, trafficking. That's the NAPTIP. You're the woman at the helm of affairs. Tell me, you've been there for a while. How has the experience been? I know at a point you told us that you had made about 800 or something cases. Let's share the experience for you.
NAPTIP was solely inaugurated or established rather to fight all forms of human trafficking. But as time went on in 2015, the members of the House of Assembly, who were very impressed with what they saw NAPTIP do, decided that the best place to domicile the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act was in NAPTIP, because they were very sure we're going to do a very good job. And so from 2015, NAPTIP went about prosecuting all forms of violence against persons. I joined NAPTIP in 2017, and I tell you that from 2017 till date, we've seen so many cases, all sorts of cases, ugly cases, ranging from domestic violence to rape to incest to all sorts, and trust me, we don't sweep any of the cases under the carpet. Painfully, some of the cases of rape, they come back to tell you after all the investigations and everything, after all said and done, the families come to tell you, oh, you know what, we're no longer interested. We want to withdraw this case.
Seriously?
We've forgiven.
Somebody violates your child?
Absolutely. We've forgiven. And I found that really ridiculous. And I always said to my officers, we don't withdraw cases of rape here. If they withdraw the cases, go ahead and file. If they don't show up in courts, fine. Then they can strike out the case. But go ahead and file these cases, and at least make sure that the names of these perpetrators are put up in our sexual offenders register. So I'd always been one to look out for women. When I was in Bielsa State, a lot of people didn't realize that I was instrumental to some of the appointments that were made, concerning women, because I realized that most of the appointments were always about men. And I'll walk up to my governor, fantastic man, and I'll say to him, Your Excellency, what of the women? And he will smile and, say, yeah. I say, yeah, I mean, the men are, just outnumber the women. And I know for a fact that women do very well. 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, when I marked my 50th birthday, I launched a book called Parenting in the 21st Century.
50th?
Yes. Yeah. How? Yeah, I'll be 54 this year by God's grace.
No. Are you guys seeing what I'm saying? This can be happening.
A lot of people don't believe, a lot of people actually think that I'm my 30s.
28, 35.
And when they see me, they get very angry that this small girl who is just in her 30s is the director general, and is privileged to be a director general. So they don't understand that this small girl is older than a lot of governors and even some ministers. So yeah, so yes, I launched a book called Parenting in the 21st Century, and trust me, this book, I wrote this book within 3 months, and this was just telling you how to protect children generally from being abused. I didn't even know God was preparing me for my job in NAPTIP. I had no idea I was going to be working in NAPTIP at the time, and so I wrote this book and launched it on my 50th birthday. And, the job I do today is pretty much just like reliving everything I talked about in my book, how to protect and, prevent all forms of violence from happening to your children. And, each time I go to, give out little talks, I give parents a tip, because I realize that a lot of parents are very careless. You send your children to school with a driver, you don't have an adult female, you leave your children at home with lessons teachers, no adult supervision, you send your children for holidays wherever, and all of that. So many careless little acts that can be prevented. So I just take time to educate people, to tell them things not to do, concerning their children, whether be it a boy or be it a girl. So it's just something, it's just who I am. I've always been that kind of person.
I want to know specifically, what are the challenges you face trying to execute this job, especially bringing back people from people who were forcefully, trafficked out, or people who went on their own but are stranded and want to come back home?
For now, because of COVID, lockdown and things like that, challenges of bringing them back, but now the airports are open, and even before the airports were open, our federal government was working very closely with IOM and some of our development partners to bring them back. We're still bringing them back. Challenges are the fact that some of them may not want to give us information that would lead to the arrest of the perpetrators, because there are lots of perpetrators hanging around. Those are basically the challenges of not having to get enough information. Some of them are so ignorant to the extent that they don't even know who trafficked them. They just tell you, oh, it's one Papa Jimo or something. Oh, absolutely, it's one Papa Jimo, and it looks like he has changed his phone number and things like that. Then, of course, sometimes we have challenges of, apart from bringing them back, we have challenges of interagency rivalry, where, for example, another law enforcement agency rescues victims and arrests perpetrators rather than refer them to NAPTIP. They display them on TV and start, that's so wrong, rather than refer them so we can do our jobs. So this interagency rivalry, causes a lot of problem, because with a job like ours, we need maximum cooperation between all law enforcement agencies.
Definitely, because in my place, we say if we gather together and pee, it makes a lot of bubbles. So if we do that, we'll get results. Now, talking about gathering together and doing something, I know you had a collaboration with some UK agencies, the UK Aid, with the Not for Sale campaign. You want to tell us more about it?
Yeah, we've had a lot of collaborations with so many countries, but really, UK has been one of our #1 allies in the fight against human trafficking. They came up with this communication strategy called Not for Sale. The project took place in Edo and Delta states, and it was huge. It made a huge impact. We had former victims, survivors, come out to speak of their experiences, some that were trafficked, some that were almost trafficked, coming out to tell girls like them that, look, it's not worth it. You don't need to go anywhere. I was trafficked, but I'm back, and look at what I'm doing today. I'm a baker. I have my shop. I'm doing very well. You don't need to go back. Some says, you know what? I was into painting and someone tried to traffic me, but I didn't go, and here I am today. You can likewise do the same. You don't need to go anywhere, because you're not a commodity. We are not for sale, because these guys don't mean well for us. They look at us as commodities, and they sell us into slavery at the end of the day. So it was a very good communication strategy. It was a very good campaign that went very viral. It was all over the social media as well. We had the hashtag I'm not for sale and all of that. So yeah, it was a very, very good and very successful campaign.
You know, a lot of times when we talk about the children violation and all that, we lay a lot of emphasis on the girl child. Of course, we know they are vulnerable. But in more than one occasion, I've actually heard you say that the boy child is also vulnerable. I'm not contesting that, but I need you to, explain more on that.
You see, when you lay too much emphasis on something, you miss out a lot. So it's always good to balance it and look, see between the lines. A lot of emphasis has been laid on girl child, but you're forgetting that they're boys as well. And then when you do not look closely at boys, you miss out a lot of things. They become very vulnerable. For example, you have a houseboy at home and you say, I have only male children, so it doesn't matter. But you've refused to think that the houseboy may be bisexual or he may be homosexual. And so you've exposed your boys to this guy because you're not paying attention on the boys. And so you don't ask questions that you should ask, or ask questions that you would usually ask the girls because you think the boys are safe. And trust me, there are lots of abuses. Boys are being abused on a daily basis. So we need to look closely at our boys just as we look at our girls. We shouldn't.
Of course, somebody was telling me that if there is a lot of rape going on, it's because the women failed. And I was like, how did you get to that conclusion? He said, if the women had trained the boys well, I said, no, just say the parents failed. Because training is best done when it's together, which is why God did not assign it baby making to one person. But shifting base a little bit. Baby making, I know you have lovely children. Hello, Mom.
Hey.
Well, they'll be wondering why I said that, because I know you have an Elizabeth in the house. Okay, so how does it feel, being so busy and still being able to train your children? All the while I've known you for a while, from Biosat up until now, you have always been that doting mother, and I keep wondering, how does she manage to keep the home front going, keep the office going, and still manage not to look tattered?
It's very easy because I'm really not running after little children. I've paid my dues. My son is 29 years old. He's a grown man. He's working. He's even buying me recharge cards.
Are you kidding me? How does it feel?
Very good.
To have your child actually say,
absolutely fantastic. And my daughter is also grown. They are all graduates. They graduated so many years ago. My daughter is also a graduate. She's a musician. She also read law, but she's into music. And so I don't really have babies to worry about. My last child is 24, so I'm just as free as the air. Yeah, and they're all on their own, doing very well, thankfully. And then we talk as much as possible, and we get together.
I was going to ask you that. Does it ever end, being a mother? Does it ever end? Because the worries seem to get bigger even as they get older.
It never ends, a mother is always a mother. And I always tell my children, sometimes when they think mommy is a little bit hard, I tell them, you will always be my children. Even when you turn 40, 50, 60, I'll always be your mother. And it is my responsibility to make sure I put you right. So from time to time, I have to call you, I have to ask how you're doing, I have to tell you what I don't like, I have to tell you what I like. You need to put your children on the right track at all times.
And when you call them, maybe probably there's you have to pass this order. Why did you do this? How do they react as adults?
They just laugh because they know who I am. They know, mommy has come again. They just laugh. My son is so mature, he doesn't get angry at all. I have never seen anything like that. My daughter, yes, can get angry. Oh, mommy, blah, blah, blah. But my son will just laugh and say, you know what? Leave mommy alone. Mommy. So he understands me better. And they just laugh at me, and they know that I mean well. They just know I mean well.
That's how you should be.
And I won't stop shouting anyway.
No, don't ever
stop. Whether they like it or not.
Don't ever stop, because the fear of mommy shouts is the beginning of a certain kind of wisdom.
Yeah.
Then you talked about Elizabeth, who is a musician. And Elizabeth told me that for your leisure time, you pretty much on the dance field.
Oh, wow. I love to dance. I've always loved to dance. Right from primary school, secondary school, I was the leader of the team, the traditional group. Primary, secondary, university, my friends just love to sit down and watch me dance.
So you still dance up until now?
I love to dance. Even in church, on Mother's Day, I dance. I love to dance. Yeah, I love it. Makes me so happy. When I'm dancing, I am really, really happy. There are two things I do, or three things I do that make me very happy. When I'm cooking, when I'm exercising, and when I'm dancing. Those three things make
If
me
not for COVID, I would have given you a handshake. It looks like we have the same thing. I don't like to eat, but I like to cook.
Me too.
You know, so and it makes me happy. And when I'm cooking,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
So when I'm cooking, I'm also singing and dancing in the kitchen. It's fun. Now, just before I leave you, I'd like to know, what would you say? Life is not always that smooth. I tell people, we look at a beautiful rose. It's beautiful, but surrounded it is always the thorns. You need to maneuver before you get to pluck the rose. What would you say, looking back, if you had a chance, you would have done it differently? More like regrets.
Honestly, to be truthful, I'm not sure I have much of regrets because I would have wanted to be a lawyer, but maybe along the line I would have also done something I enjoy, like dancing.
Professionally?
Yeah, like dancing.
I don't know which musician is listening. Where are they? Don't just hear her.
Like
there is a potential dancer for you.
Like a dance drama.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably would have gone into acting, to do like my law on the side and my dance drama on the side, which is not too late anyway, because for me, there's no age limit when it comes to acting or dancing.
Definitely.
So yeah, so I probably would have done that a lot earlier. But I really can't sit back and say I have any regrets concerning anything. The only thing that made me so sad is the fact that I lost my mom, at an early age. But it's one of those things, and I didn't have the opportunity to make her see the woman that she raised. Because my mom is my role model, not any other person. My mom was extremely hardworking and she was very successful. So I always wanted to be successful. I always wanted to be like her, and she was a very strong woman. My dad was a naval officer as well, and you can imagine the discipline and everything. My mom too was very strict, so they both together, they brought me up in a way that I'm really excited about. But I couldn't really do much because my mom died very early, and so that's just it. But otherwise, I'm not sure I can look back and say I had any regrets or I have any regrets whatsoever. I'm not really sure about that.
You've actually done a whole lot recording success, on the book of the golden book, so to speak, for success. But then, what would you say is your aha moment, in the course of doing your job, especially with the NAPTIP?
For me, when I get convictions, I'm excited. Yeah.
That's a lawyer.
Oh, yeah. It makes me so happy. In fact, I forget to eat. Yeah, I'm that happy. I'm that excited. When I get a conviction and my zonal commander calls me to say, we got a conviction, I am so excited. I mean, for me, there's nothing. If you're a very good footballer like JJ back in his days, you can dribble from now to tomorrow. If you don't score a goal, you're on your own.
Nothing.
Yeah, so we can do everything we need to do, carry out awareness campaigns, go to court, arrest. But if we don't get a conviction, it's quite frustrating. So for me, that's just my moment.
Okay. Now I got it. Thank God I'm not a lawyer, because I'm not sure I want to convince anybody. Just before I go, in a very brief moment, I'd like to know, what is your philosophy of life? What would you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered as somebody who worked very hard with all my power and my might, and made a difference where I worked. I've always believed in hard work. That's my philosophy. Hard work, determination, and passion. If you're passionate about whatever you do, whatever you find yourself doing, just grow passion for it. Become extremely passionate. Think about it, dream about it, eat it, sleep it, do everything you can. Put in your best. With determination, hard work, and passion, the sky is your limit.
I know that a lot of people who've watched and listened today, if you didn't pick anything, I mean, even if you didn't listen, You could see the body language. She didn't move a lot of her body, but you could see the passion as she spoke when she talked about hard work. Hard work pays, and hard work the right way, because that way when you sit back to enjoy what you worked for, you savor it, with joy, immense pleasure, because you know this is your work. All right, it's been the woman, and we've been speaking for a while now with the Director General, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Person, that's NAPTIP. She's grown and risen to this position. I know that you're going to even get better. We've been talking about women presidents. I want to see you at the Senate. I want to see you, when it's God's time, also in Asura, because we need more people with passion and determination and hard work, skill for it. All right, we'll be with you again next week. My name is Elizabeth Abai, and do join us for another special time out on The Woman.